Apple told us they really wanted the piece to put the iMac Pro through its paces. And we decided that the best way to do that would be to create something that used all of our collective skills. And that goes from design and illustration to fabrication, CG, and obviously the animation across all the mediums. We call the end sequence the eyegasm. There's the shapes moving past camera that are going into an iris that represents the artist's eye. The way that we're executing this is that we've created this base animation layer that shows the shapes, and then we're giving artists from all around the studio one frame to do each. Every time you combine all these different kinds of animation, especially at such a high resolution, you're taxing the machines. You know, there are 3D programs from Maya to Houdini, which are all very processor heavy. A powerful computer is super important to our artists. They don't want to wait for the image to appear. They don't want to wait for the computer to catch up. So it's great to have a machine that has that kind of power.
One day we got a phone call from Apple and they were like, would you be interested in working with us to create a piece on the iMac Pro? I was just like, I'm there, let's go, let's do it. The idea is basically a journal opening up and all of your past ideas coming to life, things that were contained inside, escaping. I wanted to create a piece that not only was interesting conceptually, but really utilized the iMac Pro to bring it to life. I want to throw VFX at it. I want to throw footage at it. I want to throw CG at it. I want to throw comping at it. We shot the book, 270 frames per second. I was able to edit 4K raw, no problem. We started taking the illustrations I made in the book and creating new textures for CG. And then we started creating all the CG elements. The weightlessness is definitely the hardest aspect of the piece because it's not what it is in real life, it's what feels good when you're looking at it. There's an artistic component, but also a very realistic technical component. The iMac Pro handled rendering out of Cinema, Arnold, kicking out renders out of After Effects. Basically every aspect of the production process just felt a lot smoother. The end goal is to create a beautiful piece, but no matter how cool it looks or how well it's animated or filmed, if there isn't an idea behind it, it's kind of pointless.
One day you wake up in the morning and you find an email that says Apple opportunity and you start doing this dream job. One of the things that started my imagination in this project was we live our lives between steel and glass. What if at some point steel and glass become ourselves? To create some diversity in the characters, I was using a lot of Voronoi fracture stuff, which is used mainly for fracturing and breaking stuff. Using fragmentation tools and extrusions makes them like something that would grow out of nature, like quartz crystals. The idea was to create something that could feel familiar in the way you see these creatures move and react, but at the same time feel strange, visually strange. That's why I ended up using motion capture technology to put some soul into these creatures. When you see one of the characters painting, but without knowing how to paint, it was challenging because it required some sort of simulation that felt natural, that felt like paint, and at the same time needs to feel organic. The iMac Pro really helped a lot in reducing processes that are usually eternal. 3 hours for a 1,000 frame simulation is extremely fast. What makes a great piece of work is when you get to see a glimpse of who made it in the piece. It needs to be something that resonates inside.
I'm a CG artist with a sculpture background. Apple approached me to ask me if I wanted to do something with them. I thought it would be a great opportunity to play with new space, to play with new scale. This project, it's kind of form studies. So while I'm working, I'm trying to think, how would I make it if it would be like a real sculpture? I'm trying to stay within a scope of shapes that are doable by hand. Technically, I always start by remaking an environment, shoot 360 HDR panorama that I project from the center on every wall. The heaviest scene in the movie is the fluid simulation. There is like 3 waves going at different timing, at different pace. I built the wave in Houdini and I really made it like it would work, like a huge volume of fluid, and let the simulation go from there. Normally with fluid simulation you wait like you would wait for a render. To be able to try as many iterations as you want really helped me a lot. At the end I didn't even think too much about how powerful it is because it kind of disappears. You can just work.
A great piece of filmmaking or design is something that goes beyond being beautiful. I think it needs a story so that you can connect to it. Apple asked me to create a piece with the iMac Pro that represents what power is to me. I wanted to convey that we all have this power inside of us. To attain this power, sometimes you have to struggle. My process is usually identify what story I'm trying to tell and what emotion I'm trying to convey. And then start thinking of how do I give that story and that emotion a visual form. I wanted that interplay of the dancers with the graphics so that each supported the overall story. For me, in the creative process, speed is so important, and iMac Pro gives you the ability to iterate quicker and really bring your vision to life. I think that we all have wolves inside of us. We all have this power inside of us. And sometimes you have to struggle before those wolves or that power is unleashed. I hope people will be able to relate to that.
The brief from Apple on this project was really, really open. It was essentially to use the iMac Pro and to showcase the power of the machine. As long as we portrayed power, we could create anything that we wanted. The term that we've been referring to this piece is algorithmic architecture. And the gist of that is using modern day tools to create a new genre of architecture that's never been seen before. We start in very close and it's almost real world. There's just a little bit of life and shift happening. Gradually throughout the piece, we get wider and wider until we get to this monolithic wide. The end shot is created through a nodal-based system in Houdini, where essentially we start with very rudimental geometry of windows, banisters, doorways, building blocks. And then through algorithms and code, it turns into something more and more complex and more powerful. For this to be truly impressive, we're not just talking about creating a little building, we need to create whole civilizations here, and it needs to be this organic piece of architecture that grows for eternity. I mean, these scenes we're talking, they've just got thousands and thousands of buildings in them, and that is not an easy thing to render. It's incredibly complex geometry, and the iMac Pro just completely churned through everything with ease.